Your manager wanted to match you against the great Sam Langford, and you say in the book that you didn't take the match because you felt that Langford would have knocked you out.
That's right. And my opinion now is the same as ever. I think Langford was one of the greatest fighters we ever had, Ed. And if I'd have fought him, I probably would have got knocked out. And I'm glad I never had the opportunity to.
He stood 5 feet 6.5 inches tall, he never held a unified world heavyweight title, and yet he recorded more knockouts than Mike Tyson and George Foreman combined. Jack Dempsey, the most feared puncher of his era, publicly admitted he was too frightened to fight him. ESPN named him the greatest fighter almost nobody knows. Sports writers of his time called him the Boston Bone Crusher, the Boston Terror, the Weymouth Wizard. Those were not marketing nicknames, those were warnings, passed from one fighter to the next like a story nobody wanted to be part of. His name was Samuel Edgar Langford, and the legends who shared his era did not just respect him, they feared him. Jack Dempsey was not a man who admitted fear easily. He was the heavyweight champion of the world, the man who destroyed Jess Willard in 1919, leaving him with a broken jaw, broken ribs, and a face that ringside reporters described as unrecognizable. Dempsey knocked out opponents with a ferocity that earned him the nickname the Manasseh Mauler. He was, by every measure of his time, the most dangerous man in boxing, and he was afraid of Sam Langford. In 1916, when Dempsey was a hungry young fighter looking for any opponent who could raise his profile, he drew the line at one name. Langford, already past his prime and aging, came directly to Dempsey's door and suggested a fight. Dempsey turned him away with careful words. "I am not looking for a fighter as good as you, Sam." That alone would have been remarkable. But years later, in his autobiography, Dempsey by the Man himself, the champion put it in plain language. "What do you mean I was never afraid of anybody? There was one man, he was even smaller than me, and I would not fight him because I knew he would flatten me. I was afraid of Sam Langford." The word flatten was not chosen carelessly. Dempsey was not afraid of losing a decision. He was afraid of being destroyed by a man smaller than himself. Harry Wills was not a fragile man. Standing over 6 feet tall and weighing significantly more than Langford, he was one of the most physically imposing heavyweights of his generation. Nicknamed the Black Panther, Wills fought Langford somewhere between 17 and 18 times across more than a decade. He knew every habit, every angle, every rhythm Langford carried into the ring. And after all of that, he still could not explain what it felt like to be hit by him. Their 1916 meeting in New Orleans ended in the 14th round when Langford dropped Wills cold. Nearly 4 decades later, Wills had not forgotten the sensation. In February 1953, he told Boxing and Wrestling magazine, "When he knocked me down, I thought I had been killed. I have been hit by many hard punchers, but their hardest punches were like a woman's slap compared to Langford's bone-crushing blows. They go through you. When he hits you in the body, you feel like turning around to see if his glove is sticking out of your back." He added that a punch to the chin from Langford left a man unable to think at all, until they bring you back to life again. This was a man who had faced Langford nearly 20 times. The memory still made him shudder. Some punches leave marks on the body. Langford's left marks on the mind. By 1922, Sam Langford was 38 years old. His left eye was completely blind from accumulated damage across 2 decades of professional fighting. His right eye was failing, clouded by cataracts that reduced his vision to little more than shifting shadows. Most fighters in that condition would have retired. Langford climbed into the ring anyway. His opponent that night was Tiger Flowers, a man who would go on to become the middleweight champion of the world. Flowers was younger, faster, and could see perfectly. Langford could not. Then, midway through the fight, his remaining right eye took a direct hit. The last fragments of useful vision disappeared. Langford was standing in total darkness, in the middle of a professional boxing match against a future world champion. He did not panic. He reached out and held the ropes to locate himself in the ring. He listened. He tracked the sound of Flowers' breathing, felt the displacement of air as his opponent moved closer, and waited. When Flowers threw his punch, Langford slipped it and returned a right hand that traveled no more than 6 inches. The Atlanta Constitution reported that Flowers went down and did not move. Langford described it simply afterward. "I just felt my way and then boom, I hit him. He forgot to duck." This was not luck. This was what happens when a man has fought so many hundreds of times that his body no longer needs his eyes. Jack Johnson was not known for humility. He was the first black heavyweight champion of the world, a man who taunted opponents mid-fight, smiled through punches, and openly defied the racial barriers of his era with a confidence that bordered on contempt for anyone who challenged him. Johnson feared no one, except, quietly and persistently, Sam Langford. They met once, in 1906. Langford was 20 years old and weighed 156 pounds. Johnson weighed 185. Despite the difference in size and experience, Johnson needed every one of those 15 rounds to win a points decision. Ringside observers noted it was among the hardest nights of Johnson's career. When Johnson became world heavyweight champion in 1908, Langford immediately pursued a rematch. Johnson refused, then refused again, and again. For years, Langford chased the title shot that Johnson would never grant him. Johnson eventually explained his position to promoter Hugh McIntosh in private. "I don't want to fight that little smoke. He has a chance to beat anybody in the world. I was the first black champion and I want to be the last." The language Johnson used reflected the ugliness of that era, but beneath it was an unmistakable admission. The heavyweight champion of the world had calculated his odds against Sam Langford and decided the risk was not worth taking. A champion who avoids one man is really saying one thing: that man is dangerous enough to end everything. By 1923, Sam Langford was nearly completely blind. His left eye had been gone for years. His right eye could detect only faint outlines of light and shadow. He had no money. Opportunities in the United States of America had dried up, partly because of the color line that blocked black fighters from title shots, and partly because most opponents simply wanted no part of him, regardless of his condition. So Langford traveled to Mexico to fight Kid Savage for the Mexican heavyweight title. He made one specific request before entering the arena. He asked his assistant to guide him to the ring in a way that looked completely natural, so that no one in the building would realize he could not see. He walked in steady and calm, giving nothing away. When the bell rang, Langford began moving, using his footwork to map the ring, feeling the distance between himself and his opponent through years of accumulated instinct. Kid Savage, unaware he was fighting a blind man, moved forward confidently. 1 minute and 45 seconds into the first round, it was over. Langford described it afterward. "I just felt my way and then boom, I hit him. He forgot to duck, and I became the heavyweight champion of Mexico. A blind man, a title fight, a knockout in under 2 minutes. The most unsettling part is not that he won. It is that, by that point in his life, it was not even surprising." Fireman Jim Flynn was not a soft opponent. He was one of the toughest heavyweights of his era and holds the rare distinction of being the only man ever to knock out Jack Dempsey, stopping him in 1 round in 1917. Flynn had been hit by some of the hardest punchers in the world. Nothing prepared him for Sam Langford. Flynn described the experience of being punched by Langford in terms that had nothing to do with boxing. "It is like being hit with a baseball bat. You do not feel pain. It is like inhaling ether. You simply go to sleep." But Flynn also shared a detail that revealed something even more unsettling about Langford's character. After knocking an opponent down, Langford would often lean over and say quietly, "I am sorry, son. I did not mean to hit you that hard." He was not performing. He genuinely did not fully understand the destruction his own hands were capable of producing. That combination, power without full awareness of its own scale, may be the most frightening thing about Sam Langford. Dempsey knew what he was doing when he hurt people. Langford simply could not help it. In 1944, journalist Al Laney tracked Langford down to a small, bare room in Harlem. He was blind, alone, and had 20 cents to his name. He was smiling. Langford told Laney, "Do not feel sorry for old Sam. I have been all around the world. I fought around 600 fights, and every one of them was a joy. Dempsey feared him, Johnson avoided him, Wills never forgot him, and Sam Langford regretted nothing." That is the final word on the most dangerous man almost nobody knows. What do you think about him? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.